Objection!
Order in the court. Settle down or I'll clear the courtroom. Quiet, Gramps. Why don't you clear out of here, huh? What did you say? Wright, are you saying that what Mr. Kudo saw was a setup? Yes. Someone pretended to be Glenn Elge and acted out the whole coffee poisoning. All for the express purpose of creating a witness out of one Mr. Victor Kudo. Get real, Wright. Why would anyone want to do that? Isn't it obvious? The thing Mr. Kudo was most insistent about in his testimony was the serving girl brought him a Javachino, but she put something in it. That's the serving girl right there in the defense chair. I remember her well. It's so hard to believe, but there was one and only one reason to show Mr. Kudo this fake poisoning. To show Maggie Bird in the act of poisoning the coffee. Are you insinuating that the waitress in the old man's story was a fake as well? It's true that there were no other customers in the restaurant at the time, but it's also true that the chef was there. Oh wait, it's also true that the chef was there. He would have noticed what was happening. That's right. Well, witness, the restaurant really was the scene of such theatrics. You would have known about it, correct? Oh la la, this is most difficult for me. No, it's quite simple. All you have to do is testify. You are under oath. After all. Was there in fact a phony at Trilogy on that day? The defense demands that Mr. Armstrong tell the whole truth about what happened. The defense request for additional testimony is accepted. You will accurately explain in detail the events at the restaurant that day. Okay. Oh dear. The victim, Monsieur L, came to my restaurant alone. I remember the old man arrived not long after him. There were no other customers. When he got word he won lottery, Mon L became very excited. It was approximately 5 minutes later that the poisoning incident occurred. No, there was no time for phony to do the acting. Just so we're clear, there was no mirror in the restaurant after all? Je vous demande pardon. Forgive me, Your Honor. I lied because I wanted this mess to be cleared up quickly. What you have just done is committed perjury, Mr. Armstrong. I'll decide how to punish you later. Oui. Now we'll begin here traumatization. He took that perjury charge a bit too well. But I'm guessing he'll be in more serious trouble after this cross-examination. In the restaurant. Was he alone at his table as well? Oui. I saw him from the kitchen. Yet the defendant, Miss Bird, remembers it differently. She swears there was another man at the victim's table. Huh. Unfortunately for you, Wright, yesterday's witness also testified that the victim was alone. You know, seeing you squirm like that reminds me of a certain coffee's bittersweet bite. What kind of coffee has he been drinking? It's not coffee, it's love. It's love that's bittersweet. Think why I say that makes her seem wise all of a sudden. By old man, you mean Victor Kudo, correct? Oui, it comes often for my special coffee. I drank your coffee once, Mr. Armstrong. It's special, I'll give you that. It's worth a sip just for the experience. Oh, you make me so happy, monsieur. You are most welcome anytime. I said it was worth one sip and nothing more. So old Mr. Kudo arrived at the restaurant around the same time as the victim. Maybe I should ask about his arrival in more detail. Out of curiosity, about what time was it when Mr. Kudo arrived? Oh, no, I cannot remember, monsieur. I believe we were told by a witness yesterday. Crime was reported at 2:25 p.m. by a kind of scary old man, sir. Does that perhaps jog your memory, witness? The incident happened about 20 minutes after he arrived, so the victim must have arrived between 2 p.m. and 2:10 p.m., no? Just after 2, huh? Thank you for your help in jogging my memory, monsieur. You are wonderful. I can't sit here all the time and do nothing now, can I? The time of the day will be added to the witness testimony. Wait, monsieur judge, everything I do it for you. Merci bien. That's French, isn't it? I'm glad at least one person is in good mood. He's even humming a song to himself. And my old man arrived not long after him, just around 2 p.m. Are you absolutely sure about the time? When I think art, I'm sure it was just after 2 weeks. It is the time I stopped serving the lunch menu. Quite right, I always break for lunch when the restaurants are serving their specials. I've been known to wind up in case early just to make it on time. Haha, I guess you should never get between a hungry judge and his lunch. Oh, would you look at that? It's almost lunchtime already. Witness, get on with your testimony, please. Is there any other customers? So your only customers were Mr. Kudo and the victim? How many times do I need to ask the same thing, Wright? You never catch me drinking the same blend twice. Huh? You're trying to establish the presence of a phony victim in the restaurant, but you're wasting your time. You can't grind bird seed to make coffee if you catch my drift. But there's a hole in this testimony somewhere, I'm sure of it. Did you see him? No, I was in the kitchen, but I heard him. I remember him shouting, yes, $500,000. Presumably the defendant heard that too, then, correct? Maggie? She looked like a poor little frightened dove. What about Mr. Kudo? The old man choked on some birdseed that got stuck in his throat. Seems we now have another incident on our hands. It's approximately 5 minutes after that, the poisoning incident occurred. And what were you doing at that point? Without any customers, you must have had a time to kill. I'm a multi-talented woman, monsieur. Sorry, what do you mean? There is le renowned chef, Jean Armstrong, and le tragic poet, Clarice Armstrong. Clarice? Wait, I was writing a poem. An angry tale of a chef and $500,000 debt. Cooking for a man who won $500,000 in the lottery. It is called pourquoi? It means why. Perhaps I could recite it for the court. Please don't. You mean you can't? So you mean you contacted the police as soon as the incident occurred? I asked the old man to call from Le Pepo. By your own argument, right? The purpose of this phony victim's performance was so the old man would see it. In other words, once the incident occurred, this opportunity would completely disappear. Indeed. It seems that the shadow of doubt has been lifted. N'est-ce pas? I guess Mr. Armstrong is connected to this case, huh? Absolutely. Someone was impersonating Mr. Elge, and I refuse to believe he was oblivious. He was there the whole time, after all. But if you're right, would Maggie have noticed, too? She felt unconscious when the incident occurred, remember? Oh, you mean that's when the phony stages act? We'll know for sure once I find a hole in this testimony. Ugh. Came to my restaurant alone. Going after him. Oh yeah, no, that actually makes sense now. I'm afraid I finally got you, Mr. Armstrong. Okay? What do you mean? At the time in question, the victim was listening to the radio with his earpiece. The show he was listening to was Millionaire Radio. Each week they announced the winner number on the $500,000 lottery ticket. Wait, that must be le showman I was listening to. I can't see any problem with his testimony, Mr. Wright. I wonder... You say the victim arrived at your restaurant around 2 p.m., correct? Oui, I am sure of it. I remember it perfectly now. I know it was that time because I just finished serving the lunch menu. Get to the point, Wright, if you have one. That show is broadcast live at 1:30 p.m. and it claims to be the most thrilling 10 minutes of your life. It's on at 1:30? Now, supposedly, the victim made some noise when it was announced that he had won. And yet, I don't believe his cry of joy could have occurred after 2 p.m. because the show had already finished more than 30 minutes earlier by that point in time. No! This victim we've been told about has done nothing but the impossible. Listening to the radio with Ring, watching a show that was already over. There's only one conclusion you can draw from these facts. This victim was an imposter acting out the poisoning 30 minutes after the real murder. Yes, there were 2 Glen Elgs in Trebian that day. The real Glen Elg, now dead, having been poisoned by the real killer, and the phony Glen Elg acting out the events Mr. Kudo to witness. It certainly seems that way. I mean, if it wasn't the case, how could you explain the time discrepancy? Quite a performance, Wright. You were almost on a roll. But sadly, you lack the rock-hard foundation of rhythm to build your song. What is this? Music Theory 101? Let's recap. According to your imaginative theory, it's now just about after 2 p.m. The phony Elg is performing a play for the benefit of Mr. Kudo. How do you explain then where the real Glen Elg is? I don't believe I have to spell this out for the court, however. At the time, the real Glen Elg was already dead. That certainly is the obvious conclusion. Thank you, Wright. That's exactly what I was hoping you would say. What? Now, I presume you can prove this theory of yours? Can you explain where the missing corpse went to? The missing corpse? According to the old man's testimony, there was only one other customer there. If that customer was the phony Glen Elg, then where did the killer hide the body of the real victim? The prosecution has a valid point, Mr. Wright. If your theory is to stand up to examination by the court, you must provide us with proof by answering the prosecution's question. Where did the killer hide the body? Yes, Your Honor. No conjecture, Wright. Let's hear some facts for once. Show the court a piece of evidence that proves where the body was hidden. Evidence? What's with the intense pressure all over here all of a sudden? I thought I had him with that contradiction. But he's turned it around and backed me into a corner instead. Well, Mr. Wright, the court will now hear defense theory and evidence. First, where was the body? It would have been too dangerous to take the body outside, obviously. The body must have been hidden somewhere inside Trebian. Interesting. But where could a body have been hidden inside the restaurant? Perhaps you would care to show the court on these plans, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. Take that! The body was hidden here. I see. Nice supposition. The real question is, can you back it up? Where's the evidence that proves the body was hidden in that location? Mr. Armstrong, do you recognize this bottle? No. I've never seen that ugly bottle before in my life. I only use the very best bottles, monsieur. The highest quality for me. Where was that bottle found, Mr. Wright? Interestingly enough, Your Honor, it was found in the kitchen of Trebian. Okay, but I only ever use these bottles for my aromatherapy oils. But this bottle doesn't contain aromatherapy oils, Mr. Armstrong. No, it contains a medication. What kind of medication? I'm sure everyone remembers, don't they? That Mr. Elg visited the otolaryngological clinic and was given medication that day. You can't be serious. The defense had the contents of the bottle analyzed, and I have a lab results here. The contents of the bottle match the prescription that was given to Mr. Elg. Glen Elg's murderer hid the body in the restaurant kitchen, at which time this bottle fell out of the victim's pocket. Mr. Armstrong, when the incident occurred, didn't you say you were in the kitchen? Mon Dieu. Yes, you know what I'm about to say. It was you who hid the victim's body. You did a fine job pretending to defend my client, Maggie Bird, however. You were setting her up to take the fall behind the poor girl's back. No. Order. This is an extraordinary development. Witness, did you murder Mr. Glen Elg? Never. I could not do such an horrible thing. No. Mr. Godot. Bitterness. Every time I get lied to, I always down a mug of coffee. That's one of my rules. Do you have the slightest idea how many cups you've had by now? And then I like to do the same to the person who lied to me. I like to take them down with my empty cup. Listen up, chef. How about a brand new flavor in your ear, my H-deficient friend? Je vous demande pardon. Please, you must hear me out. It is a trap. Listen to me. Por favor. Hablo español. Mr. Armstrong, and por favor is Spanish. I'm only going to ask once. Did you do it? No. Absolutely no. Let's hear it. You've got one shot. Right, Gramps? Witness, the court will permit you the chance to make one final statement. If you lie under oath again, Mr. Godot's coffee mug awaits you. As does my gavel. Oui, it is clear. What do they always say in the movies? I've got a bad feeling about this. Very well, begin your final testimony, Mr. Armstrong. It is true, I hid the body in the kitchen. A man forced me to do it. I had no choice. I had to go alone with him because there was a reason why I could not refuse. But I did not kill him, I swear it. You must believe me. I wonder what he's going to sound like if he's in the anime. I'm very excited for that. You were forced by who? I cannot say. I will be erased. Let's try a different question then. When Mr. Elg died, was he really the only person at his table? There was. There was another man. I knew it. Maggie was telling the truth. You may cross-examine the witness now, Mr. Wright. There's just one more thing I need to do. I gotta break this guy and get him to tell us the name of the real killer. The confession. Did you carry the body by yourself? Wait, I carried him. I carried Maggie too. Maggie too? When she saw the victim collapse, she fainted. I could not leave her there. Why did you hide the bodies? What man? Who was he? No, I cannot say. I fear for my life. He's really scared. You'll just have to put the words in his mouth, Nick. Yeah, you're right. If you won't tell me, I'll tell him. But why would you go along with this man? And what reason would that be, Mr. Armstrong? You know, Monsieur. Yes? Surely you cannot expect a young maiden to talk about such an embarrassment. Maiden, you're a bit old to get away with that. And a bit too male. I can't finish the cross-examination without establishing his reason. We'll just have to prove it with evidence. So, you are claiming that all you did was hide the bodies, is that correct? Oui, that's right. If we are to believe you, Mr. Armstrong, you must tell the court everything. You must make clear the identity of the man who ordered you to do this. He's already confessed this much. He might as well stop dancing around the real issue. Yeah, but he really doesn't want to tell us who the killer is. Then sock it to him, Nick. That's not a bad idea. Let's end this dance of Ring Around the Rosie, Mr. Armstrong. This is the man that you've been referring to. Who is that? I feel like I've seen him somewhere before. Oh, I don't know, maybe a month ago in this very courtroom. This man is Furio Tigre. He's the manager of the loan office called Tender Lender. There's no point trying to hide the truth anymore, Mr. Armstrong. I know you couldn't go against Mr. Tigre. At least not while he had this on you. A $500,000 loan from a black market loan shark. And you had no way of paying it back, did you? That's why you were forced to do anything this man told you. It is as you say. Mr. Armstrong? Tiger, he told me he was going to use my restaurant for a business rendezvous. On the day in question, he was meeting a victim to demand that I repay his loan. I don't know why it happened like that. I just did what he told me to do. I had no choice. I carried the body and the inconstant Maggie out of the dining area and into the kitchen. After that, I just tried to forget what I had seen. I think we can now safely say that the man who forced your hand was Mr. Furio Tigre. It's Tiger, but I like Tigre better. I do have one further question for you, Mr. Armstrong. The poison and the lottery ticket that were found in the defendant's apron pocket. Was that your doing as well? No, I knew nothing about that. Making it look it was like Maggie who had done it. I was not. It was despicable. Mr. Godot, you will summon this Furio Tigure as a witness. I doubt that can be arranged today, so we will adjourn for now. Proceedings will continue tomorrow. 30 minutes. What? The trial will go on. I'll see to it myself. I need half an hour to get the guy on the stand, not a minute more. How the... Don't sit back and relax yet, Trite. No one knows if that chef is really telling the truth or not. This trial could still go either way. Very well. Your request is granted, Mr. Godot. We'll resume once Mr. Tigre is ready to take the stand. Until then, court is adjourned for a 30-minute recess.